Oh yeah, it looks like it's going live on Instagram too. Let's see.
It does say you're live.
It does say I'm live. Okay. See, the problem is now is trying to invite you. You know, that's the only other issue.
Oh, then I would have to go in.
For those that are watching, we're about to go live with Yumna to talk about her feel good foodie book. We're just give us about maybe a minute just to make sure we're figuring everything out. Um, and Yumna, you said you're about to do something to join as well, or
Yes. I do think that the screen looks really weird, how it's small and it's empty on the top and bottom.
okay, hold on, let me just see. How do you find that, by the way? I can't even see where am I at. Where is it at?
It's on Instagram.
Is it just like on like the posts?
I'm watching your live right now.
I don't know why it's not popping up on my own Instagram. Maybe it's because I'm live.
From StreamYard, I think maybe.
I'm just trying to check and see right now. Hold on 1 second. It's like I can't watch it. You know, what I'm saying? I'm just trying to see how it looks. Make sure that it's working well. Um, well, whatever. Do you think it's should we keep it going, Yumna, or what do you think? Do you think it was just an Instagram and go live with our phones?
I think just on Instagram possibly, but
Okay.
or I mean, I'm fine. I'm fine. Whatever. If you prefer to post it on YouTube, we can also do that. We can also start it over again since we have 2 minutes of this live, and that way we can just kind of get started right away, and then you can save it, right? Or I don't know if you can crop it later.
Yeah, I mean, we got YouTube going too. So worst case scenario, I could crop it. Can we just roll with this right quick, Yumna? And then I'll keep messing with it another time.
Okay. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
because
mute myself. I'm gonna lower my phone because
yep,
I'm hearing the audio again.
no problem. This is great. Thank you guys for watching and tuning in. All right. So with that said, we're gonna go ahead and do this. We're gonna roll with this. We're gonna go live. Welcome everybody to season 3, episode 30 of Motivate Me 313's podcast. Today we are talking about Yumna, our guest, which is right here, depending on how you're viewing it, to the right or to the left of me. I believe it's to the left of me. And so Yumna is our guest. Of course, you got my sister Sada T. You got my other sister IBT in the building today. We're going live on YouTube and Instagram today, so we hope that you get a chance to watch either or, whatever works. Again, today we're here with Yumna. She is the author of Feel Good Foodie Cookbook, so we're looking forward to hearing all about that. Hearing all about her story as well and all her journey. For those that don't know, she's a foodie influencer. Check out her Instagram. She is doing great things, but I'm sure that's not the only thing she does as well. So we're looking forward to hearing all that, all her information. But before we do that, for those that are watching, be sure to follow us. We got YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok all under Oz Media. You can listen to our shows later on Apple and Spotify podcasts under Oz Media. And if you want to call, the number is 313-306-1750. Have it right here on my phone, 313-306-1750. Shout out to our sponsors, the Balkan House, Juice Box, Ahawa House, BC Adhesives, Specialty Medical Center, and Hanley International Academy. We appreciate them and all their support. And with that said, we are ready to get this show rolling. Thank you for your patience for those that have been watching. And first of all, we'll start off with Yumna, our guest. Tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do, and we can kind of get it going from there.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on. It's so much fun to chat with you guys and just to have this conversation and share a little bit about my background and everything. So I was actually born in Africa, but I grew up in Dearborn. So I've been in Dearborn most of my life. And then when I got married, I ended up moving away and tried getting back to Dearborn, but we now live in Grand Rapids, Michigan. So just about 2 hours west of Dearborn, but Dearborn will always be home to me. I went to Fortson and it's always home base for me. So it's great to just speak to the community and just, try to just connect with everybody there. So I actually, graduating from Fortson, I was voted most likely to succeed, and everyone thought I was going to be a doctor. And everyone is like, "Oh, she's the smart girl." She was like number 2 in her class out of 400, and I ended up, getting a great corporate job. Worked for 10 years, did all of that. When I got pregnant and had my first kid, I started working less and less, and started working part time and from home. Then I had my second kid, and I started becoming really interested in nutrition, healthy eating. I was living in Florida at the time while my husband was doing residency, and we lived by a farmer's market, and I would go and just try out different produce and try out different fruits and vegetables. And I got so excited about all of this, and I wanted to share more about it. And I also wanted to learn how to cook. And I figured starting an Instagram page would motivate me to stay accountable, learn how to cook publicly, use all the tips and tricks that I've learned from my mom, but also marry it with all the new things that I'm learning on Instagram, like how to make overnight oats, and how to use quinoa, and things that maybe we didn't grow up with, growing up in like a Middle Eastern household. So that's when Instagram started in 2013, and the rest has just been such an amazing experience to go through all that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And of course, you got my sisters here with me, Sada T and Ibid T in the building as well. Feel free to chime in. If you guys have anything you want to say right quick. Ibid, it look like, what are you doing, Ibid, over there? Like you're.
My cat is literally on the top of the chair. I'm like trying to get her down, but I'm trying to ignore her at the same time. But no, Yumna, I want to say that I absolutely love your recipes. I love even like the ending when you guys go so good. Like it's cute. It's family friendly. I love how you made your husband cook he's like you're like you make it. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? So he'll like get in there too, and you have your kids in there. I love it. It's such a light, easy, like wonderful page to like easily watch for sure.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
And we got reassured hearts on Instagram. Said Assalamu alaikum, and we see you all. So thank you for confirming that. Sada, any opening words, opening statements you want to make as well, or you just want to get the show rolling?
Let's get this show rolling.
All right. So I know you kind of touched on that, Yumna, your little your story about how you began and stuff like that. So let's dive into the title. It's your Instagram name, and it's the name of the book as well, which is Feel Good Foodie. So when I read that off, I was like, hey, does that mean that all the food that you make is healthy? Tell us what's the reasoning behind that name, and is all the food that you kind of post healthy for people?
Yeah. So when I decided to start this Instagram page, I was first sharing a lot of photos and recipes on my personal Instagram, and nobody cared. It was like I would share pictures of my cute kids when they were 2 and 1, and people would love them. And then I would share food, and nobody cared. And so I was like, well, I'm going to start another page, and people will care because there's people out there that want to learn about the fun things that I'm cooking. And so my husband actually at the time, I was like, but I don't know anything, and why would people follow me if I don't know enough? And he said, well, people will follow your journey, and you have this like feel good attitude about you that you don't know everything, but you're trying things out, and you are a huge foodie. So why not try, and share everything that you're learning? So my husband actually came up with the name Feel Good Foodie because he's like, you're the biggest foodie I know, and you just have this feel good personality to you that people just want to listen to the things you're talking about and learn from you. So he came up with the name, and literally I thought it was just going to be this fun hobby, for like 10 seconds, that I would just have this page for a few months while I'm on maternity leave and just having fun until I went back to my corporate job in marketing. And what's funny is now 11 years later, it's, my full-time job. I've got 9 people who work with me. And it's funny because it's the name of my business. And I literally call my bank and they'll say, what's the name of your business? I'm like, Feel Good Foodie. And it just sounds like this like cute little hobby of mine, but it's actually a multi-million-dollar company now. And it's grown to become something from like a little hobby on my phone to this big corporation that I'm now running, with products, cookbook, on like a website and social media. So it's got these 4 thriving parts of it. And it's just amazing to think that like it just came up. It was just my husband coming up with this fun little name.
I have a question. Just coming from someone that, has a career but also has a passion as well. Like, how did you like let go? Because like when you go to school for a long period of time and you work in your career, it's very hard to let that go.
Oh yeah.
So like what kind of, go ahead, Sarah.
I was gonna piggyback to your question. Finish your question.
Yeah, like what how did you do it? How did you let go of the years of your schooling and your career and your actual, you know that
Absolutely.
you're gonna get the pay, and you know what I'm saying?
Also,
Absolutely.
too, did your marketing job help you with this? Okay,
Absolutely. And that's what I was
okay,
going to
good.
say is when I studied marketing, I went to the University of Michigan Business School. And so I have a really good background in all aspects of business, but primarily in marketing. And what I did was, as soon as I graduated, I basically had 10 years of different types of jobs in marketing. And so I did consumer research, I did in-store marketing, I did like I just did a little bit of everything. And what happened was, I remember when I was on maternity leave and I was still like working with one of the companies and they would send me jobs, but I wasn't in the office. So it was like out of sight, out of mind type of thing. So they were sending me less and less work. And I'm such a busybody that I was probably working 10 hours a week in my corporate job. And I'm like, I just wanted something else. And so it actually kind of got started as just a hobby and it was never supposed to replace my job. And so that's kind of what helped. But as I started doing it, I thought, you know what, this is really interesting because of all the aspects of marketing that I've learned, I've never touch social media marketing, and this was 2013. I'm like, this could actually be like pretty helpful for me one day if I want to do social media for a bigger company one day. And I'm just thinking of it as a trial. So I'm like, I'm going to be the brand. Feel Good Foodie is the brand. And I put my marketing hat on and I started thinking of it as how can I promote myself as this brand and see like, can I grow? Can I gain followers? Can I do something with this? And so that helped a lot too. It was like this hobby that I started thinking maybe I could, learn something from this hobby. And what happened was I started sharing my recipes, and little by little, brands started noticing me. And I remember Stonyfield once sent me yogurt. They're like, "Hey, I love the fact that you." Oh wait,
I'm sorry, I did that on purpose.
okay.
Did it? That's good.
Oh, it's fine. It just only shows me now.
Yeah, yeah. I was wanting you. I'm sorry. I figured it'll be easier for them just to see you right now talking, and then I was gonna spread
Oh,
back out.
absolutely. That
Yep.
sounds good. Yep. So, what was I saying? Yeah, I remember Stonyfield noticing, like, oh my gosh, you use yogurt and these savory recipes. That's so different. We'd love to send you a case of yogurt. And so I remember being so happy to get a case of yogurt. And it was just like I literally created content for them for the return of yogurt. And it was so much fun just like getting that yogurt. I felt great. And little by little, more and more brands started noticing me, and I would get $50 here, $100 there, pretty soon $1,000, pretty soon 5 digits. And before I knew it, I was like, wait a minute, if I continue and do X, Y, and Z and do this can actually pay as much as my corporate job pays. And I think it wasn't until that point where I finally decided it was time to quit, because I finally decided that, you know what, I could actually make enough money to replace what I was making a corporate job. And my husband, was still training in school. So he wasn't, making as much at the time because,
Right.
as a student, they're barely paying you for the 80 hours a week that they work.
For
That's,
sure.
yeah,
No,
that's
I know
awesome.
it would definitely be like a gamble in a way, you know.
Yeah.
But I can see like finally when you started seeing the brands come in and obviously they start paying you more, like it would be a good opportunity to leap,
Yeah.
take the leap.
And I think you have to have a cost, right? You have to have a price in mind where you're like, okay, if I can make this much. And for me, I think it was like, if I can make 75% of what I was making at my corporate job, then I'm okay to quit, because I would be like 150% happier, And it was one of those things where I'm like, we can live off of this. And in 5 years, my husband will start making money and we'll be okay. But financially, I mean, it is a big decision. And it's a luxury to be able to do that and to be able to so the way I was able to do it was still holding my job, my full-time job or part-time job at the time. And so it was a side hustle. And I think that a lot of times you have to start with it as a side hustle.
100%.
Yeah. And I remember my family would tell me, why are you wasting so much time on Instagram? You literally made $50 this month. I'm like, yeah, it's not about the money. I'm like, there's something here. I didn't know what it was, but I just knew there was something there at the time.
And knowing that your husband was supporting you through, I'm sure helped with that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And he was always like, "Oh my gosh, this is so fun. This is so cool." But I think he also thought it was this hobby. And I think we both thought that. And because we bounced around residency, fellowship, subspecialty, we basically lived in Arizona, Florida, and Massachusetts. And then we finally moved to Kalamazoo. So between moving around all those places, I was like, you know what? Once we settle down and you finally get a job, then I'll get a real job. Then I can like have all this amazing experience, and then I'll get a real job. And then one day probably like 4 years into it, I'm like, wait a minute, this is my job. This is the best job I ever had.
Yep. You created your own real job.
I actually did. Yeah.
Amazing.
That is amazing. That's actually a great story, and I'm happy that you guys asked that question. You were able to share that, Yumna, because that's what it's all about, right? You found your passion, you found your niche, and then you kind of ran with it. You ran with it, and this is where you are today. So, mashallah, Allahumma barak, keep up the great work. We have people commenting. Munira said, so happy for you that your passion grew and you saw the fruits of it for sure. Still seeing the fruits of it, mashallah. Just like a book that's just about to come out soon, but we'll be diving into that in a little bit as well. But moving on, I guess, to the next question would be, being a food influencer, people think it's just rainbows and smiles and everything is great. Could be, but I could be wrong. So my first question is, what's the hardest part about being someone who is an influencer?
Absolutely. I think the influencer part is one piece of it. I think it's like 1/4 of my job. I look at it because I started out as an influencer, and that's one piece of it. And I think what's difficult is like knowing all the things that happen behind the scenes. So because I have a website as well, I have copywriters that help me with copy. I've got photographers. I've got a search engine optimization specialist. I've got a social media team. And so for me, I feel like the hardest part is like managing that whole team, because I didn't have this experience managing everyone, and then I'm just I just have such a soft heart and like managing people and like having to fire people and let people go. Like that to me is like really difficult part of the job. And then also it's all the behind the scenes that happen that people don't know, that takes place, and the research that I have to do every time I name a recipe, for example. Like people will get mad when I post a recipe for Lebanese rice. Like, why is it called Lebanese rice? Like you're claiming this as Lebanese food and it's Arabic rice. It's not Lebanese rice. And I'm like, well, it's not even like, it's a business decision, like literally. And so there's a lot of judgment that happens for why I do certain things and why I name certain foods, for example. And so with that one, for example, I look at Google and what are people searching for? People are searching 10 times more for Lebanese rice than Arabic rice. And because I'm Lebanese, I will call it that. And so it's a business decision. And I'm so like numbers focused and research oriented that before I do anything, I research it. I try to figure out what's the best way to, move forward with that. And so there's a lot of misunderstanding that happen. And I think a lot of people assume that it's, creating a recipe, posting it online, and that's what the job comes down to. But really there's so much more that happens behind the scenes with email marketing, with the website, with the research that takes place, with recipe development. I still develop all my recipes and test them, and multiple times test them before I even put anything out there, because I have a reputation to uphold. So I think it's being able to balance all of that. It's also being able to manage people, knowing that it's their full-time job and I'm providing a full-time income for some of these people. And my success is also their success as well. And so it's a lot of pressure and it's a lot of different things, riding on me basically.
I have a question. When did you decide that, okay, now it's time for me to have a team? Like when was the breaking point where you're like, all right, like this is too much, but if I want to continue, if I want to grow, I need to expand?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think for me, it started very little at a time. So I think one of the first persons I hired was a Pinterest manager, because I love Instagram. I'm obsessed with Instagram, but I didn't really know much about Pinterest. And there's so much strategy that happens there, because it by itself is a whole search engine. And you're supposed to post like 30 to 60 times a day to be successful on Pinterest. And so that was one of the first ones that I hired, and it was super helpful. And, for hiring for as little as $400 a month, for example, I was able to see like 2 to 3 to 4 times as much traffic. When you look at the ROI of whatever that person costs, I'm like, that makes so much sense. And I'm not spending time doing this. And if I was to do it, it would take me 40 hours. And what is my 40 hours worth? And so I started to think about another position like that too. Like, okay, when it comes down to copywriting, for example, it takes me about 2 hours a post. And if I can hire someone for $100 to do it, what is my time worth for that 2 hours? And is my time worth more than that $100? And then can I get the ROI on that as well, the return on my investment, that that they're able to like create better posts that save me time so that I can spend my time doing something else. And so it was one by one. And with every position that I hire, I look at what is it saving me? What am I able to do instead of that? And then what are they bringing to the table to do that? But I still, touch every recipe. I develop them all. I test them all. And then even though my team will start writing like 80% of it, I go in there and give it the final Yumna pizzazz,
Yes.
So, but it all helps because I don't need to be the one writing every single week. How do you reheat lasagna and how do you reheat mashed potatoes and those kind of questions that come on the website? I can have somebody on my team writing those things because we already have 10 other articles very similar to them where they can pull that kind of information from.
I love that.
Yeah. So it's one by one. And before I knew it, I started seeing gaps as well. I was writing all my emails and I thought, you know what? Somebody else can be writing these because every year there's Mother's Day. And every year for Mother's Day, we're sending out the same email. And I already wrote this email 5 years ago. So next year, someone can take that, change out my French toast recipe. It doesn't need me in there to be doing that, but I'll still go in there every week before the emails get sent out. And I'll put in my little like, hey guys, and then just to make it a little personal touch so that it sounds just a little bit more like me. But with every aspect of it, I think it's very important not to lose the personal touch because in the end, we are an influencer and I think people are following the person. And because me as the influencer, as Yumna, is such a big part of my brand, it's important not to lose sight of that piece of it.
For sure.
So Yumna, you said you're a marketing, but you were in marketing as well.
Yeah.
Heck, you're still a marketer as you speak as well. Like, what are some tips to people who want to get their brand out there? Like, what would you I know this is kind of a broader question, not really focused on, but I mean, this is what you do, right?
Yeah.
So what are some tips for people like to get their brand out there? Like, what would you tell them?
I think you have to be where your consumers are. So if you have to think about what are their ages, and if they're young, they're probably on TikTok, they're probably on Snapchat, and I think you have to be where they are and speaking their language as well. And so for me, I realized that my audience is people who are like me, who are my age, and who are Middle Eastern, probably who are moms. And so like, where are they? They're on Facebook, they're on Instagram, they're also on Google because at night they're like, what am I making for dinner? Easy.
I'm on Pinterest as well. Listen,
And
I'm
on
still on
Pinterest.
Pinterest. Yeah.
And and I'm like, and there's, for example, there's a lot of money to be made on Snapchat. There's a lot of people on Snapchat, but my audience is not on Snapchat. There's 13-year-olds on Snapchat. But so I'm going to invest my time and energy where my audience is and double down on those platforms and try to speak to them in what they understand as well. And I think one of my tips is also trying to solve a problem instead of trying to sell them something, trying to get them to buy into something. And so instead of saying like, hey, I've got all these amazing recipes, it's like, hey, you don't know what to make for dinner. How about I show you like these 10 ideas that I just shared here that are meatless for Meatless Monday, or really great like pasta dishes or 15-minute dishes for, that your kids are going to love. And so I try to figure out how to solve people's problems as much as possible. And I think that's the best way you can market to any audience.
Yeah, we had a couple comments. We actually had a commenter saying, what advice would you give to someone starting their own social media for their personal business? So a very similar question.
Yep.
Where should they start? Logo, branding, video content, posts. So basically, like you said, know your audience and kind of focus on that.
And people will fixate so much on like, I got to get my logo right. I got to get the font right. And I did the same thing. I actually started my website, I remember in like September or June or something like that. And I think I waited, and then 4 months later, I'm like, nope, it's not ready. The logo's ugly. And I literally postponed it 6 months because I didn't like the logo. And looking back at it, it doesn't really matter what all that stuff is. I think it's just about just starting. And I think one of my best tips to people is just start and build the plane as you fly in a way. Like just keep building and trying it out and fixing things along the way, because it's not going to be pretty in the beginning. In fact, it's probably going to be ugly in the beginning. And I look at my old YouTube videos. There's also the Wayback Machine. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but you can actually look at any website in any year. And so for fun, I like to look at my website in 2013 or 2014, and it'll show you like snapshots, a snapshot of your website at a given time. And it's just fun to see how much I've come. And people look at me and they're like, wow, it's amazing what you've done. I'm like, listen, no way. Like it started out just ugly and bad and lots of mistakes, and I've come a long way, but I started and I just kept improving every day.
That's awesome.
Crazy. I definitely agree with that.
That's a feel good story right there. So I mean, you kind of touched on it, but what's the most rewarding part about all the work that you do?
Honestly, it's the messages from people. It really is. And I even just met a lady at the gym today, and she said, you changed my life. I started cooking because of you." And I'm like, "Stop it right now. I'm going to start crying at the gym."
Aw.
Like, I couldn't believe it. And it's these real life stories of real people who come up to me and say, "You made cooking so much easier for me. You made it so much more fun for me." And I had a person who had me sign their cookbook the other day, and she said her son is autistic and had just a lot of aversions to so many foods, but for some reason, the ones that I was sharing, he loved them, and they made him feel good, and they made him feel comforted. And so just messages like that from people honestly make my day. And honestly, just seeing my own kids starting to learn how to cook, starting to learn like how to use these ingredients that make our bodies feel good. It's so humbling, and it's so rewarding for me to see that, because me enjoying the process and doing this has made them have joy in the process as well and love cooking, which I didn't love cooking growing up. I wanted to stay as far away from the kitchen as possible.
That's
Listen,
awesome.
I'm the same way. The easier the recipe, the better. And I
Yeah.
like we grew up in a Yemeni household where my mom, I love her to death, but she like everything was eyeballed. Not everybody's good at that. Listen, not everything, not everybody like
Right.
it takes a lot of practice, but when you the recipes are easy and you don't need that much ingredients, and they're seasonal at some point, it's just, I don't know, it's helpful. It is.
Absolutely. Yeah. And
The
our mom's pinch of something is not really a pinch. It's like a
Nope.
tablespoon.
and then when you ask, they're like, "Oh, just do it by taste. You know
Yeah.
how much, as long as you taste like how it tastes." And it's just, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
And
hard.
then I learned there's finjan qahwa, finjan chai, so a cup of tea and a cup of coffee. But what's funny is the cup of tea is actually big and the cup of coffee is actually small. And those are their measuring cups. And I'm like, a cup of tea and a cup of coffee is literally the only two measuring cups my mom ever had. I don't know if your mom was the same, but
Yes.
there's no 1/4 cup, half a cup, 3/4 of a cup. It's
Yep.
finjan qahwa, finjan chai. Like that's the two, like that's it.
Literally. You know which one is more, which one is less, or whatever
Exactly.
cup that was in the rice, that was the cup of rice.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. Jen Chai, the tea one, and the tea one I learned over time is a cup and a half. That's what my mom was measuring.
yeah.
So yeah.
We
Speaking of tea,
appreciate people like you. The newer generation definitely appreciates people like you, for sure.
Yeah. And that's what's cool too about the people like me who are following. We all have our moms, like we're the same generation. And people are like, "Please tell me how you make like mjaddara hamra." Somebody was asking me from Dearborn like a year ago. They're like, "Please, can you do mjaddara hamra on your website?" Because I'm like, "Well, there's a couple out there. I don't know how to." She's like, "No, I need you to do it because like you just understand the flavors, and then you understand like how the measurements convert, but you also make it easy." And so
Mhm.
I tested that one probably 6 times because I know what it's supposed to taste like from when I get it at Yasmin Bakery, and I know what it's supposed to like, and I couldn't get it right without like like pouring hot oil and just making these complicated steps. So it took me so long, literally 6 tries, but I finally have a good mjaddara hamra recipe that I'm
Nice.
proud of.
So you're doing the research for us, and you're also finding easier ways for us to nail it. So we
Exactly.
appreciate it.
Yeah,
For sure.
exactly.
Abid is being serious right now. By the way, she's speaking
I
straight from the heart, right?
Listen. So
Yeah.
I feel like I was forced into the kitchen at a very, very young age, and it made me like hate it. It wasn't
You
like,
resent it.
oh, yes, I resented it. I just felt like, I like it took a lot of my like younger years. So I don't know, an easy recipe to me, like we used to stay in the kitchen like all morning. And a lot of the food, the Yemeni food, is a lot of I don't know how to explain it, like not baking, it's more like stirring, and
Mhm.
I don't know how to explain that, but it's more like sautéing and stuff like that,
Yeah.
longer.
Oh yeah.
So I hated that. I'm more of a quick fix.
Yes.
Not let's not make food a big deal. Like, let's not use the whole day to make food.
That's what I was gonna say. We made food such a big deal, like it was a drag.
Yeah.
And you know how you mentioned before, like, oh, your kids, you see your kids kind of like having fun and like
So cute.
liking to cook, is because that's how you kind of, the energy you brought out as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's
I
an
mean, my
experience.
mom, we grew up in Africa. So my mom was literally making her own yogurt from scratch. And so she was literally making her own tomato paste. And she would be in the kitchen for hours. And I'm like, I want to stay as far away from that as possible. And I remember when we moved to the States, my mom started finding little conveniences. So she was in the kitchen a lot less, and like she found yogurt already made, or she would just find things that just made her job a lot easier. And I started noticing like, oh, she is kind of this still tastes really good. What is she doing? And she kept telling me, come in the kitchen, I'll teach you. And I was like, no. Once I get married, I'll learn. And so I avoided it as long as I could. And then once I got married, I literally called her. There was no FaceTime at the time. And I'm like, wait, how do you make rice again? Like, that's how you make it like a million times, but tell me again how to make it. And of course I messed it up 20 times because her finjan chai, the cup of tea,
Was
was
that the
not
same
my
cup that
cup
you
of
had?
tea.
Yeah.
My cup of tea was wrong. And I had to like have a lot of mushy rice, a lot of dry rice before I finally perfected it. And I was living when I first started getting interested, I was actually living in Arizona at the time and then Florida. And so I couldn't be there with her. So every vacation I'd come, I'm like, wait, let's do this. Let's make rice. She's like, Halla, now you're interested in cooking.
How many siblings do you have, if you don't mind?
I have an older brother and then 2 younger sisters.
Okay, so you're the oldest sister. Okay, I see.
Yeah.
For sure.
And what's cool is like my sisters don't cook a lot too, and we're all pretty spoiled by my mom, and they live close enough to my mom that they get a lot of meals from her, and they make like quick and easy meals here and there. But they are when I was writing this book, I was kind of writing it for them. Like every time I thought of a recipe, I'm like, I want to make this, but then I'm like, would Rawan and Zainab make this? No, I'm gonna scratch it. And like literally, they were my audience. I'm like, would they ever make this? Like, they would never make this recipe. So why am I doing this in there? And it's really kind of nice too. Like when it comes back to that marketing question, like to actually have a persona in mind of who your person is. Like when I first did this, I did it with a marketing agency. They're like, who's your person? So we literally made up a person. We called her Sarah, and we're like, okay, Sarah is a teacher. She has like 2 kids. Her husband does this, and like we actually like made an entire persona. And then afterwards, like I just kept thinking of her every time I would write something, every time I would try to sell something, every time I would put out a new recipe. Would Sarah make this? And it really just grounded me. And then when I came down to the cookbook, I was like, wait, my sisters are like my actual audience, and that's who I'm thinking of. They're busy, they work, they've got kids, they have husbands that work, and it really helps to kind of figure out like, would my sisters send this video I'm making to their friends? And if not, then don't make it. If would they send this recipe to their mom and tell them, make it for me next time? Like you have to kind of think about that audience, and having a real person in mind helps so much with the marketing.
Yeah, especially because when you're thinking like stay-at-home moms, that like they'll have more time to like cook a whole meal and take their time. But I teach, and I have a very hungry 14-year-old, so I get it. I get the rush of after school where you have to try to figure something out. And I used to live next to my mom where I would easily grab a
Yeah,
meal here and there, but now I'm a little bit further. So when I hear you, I'm like, that's exactly it. That's going to be your audience that are going to be gravitating towards your meals for sure.
absolutely.
Awesome. Story so far. We're learning a lot about Yumna and what she does for a living. And, she's given some very inspiring words, got some great encouragement on social media right now. I'll read it off. You guys were talking about tea and coffee cups. Well, it reminded me of Qahwa House, which is the first sponsor that I'm going to give a shout out to right quick. If you guys want to take a quick water break, because I'm going to read off this just off this right here, Qahwa House ad. So shout out to Qahwa House. It's the first Yemeni coffee shop of its kind. You can stop by Qahwa House to try their famous Yemeni latte, Adani Shahi, Mafawad, or Jubani coffees. You can also stop by to try their delicious pastries such as the Yemeni favorite sabaya, everything mini bites, and they even serve sambusas. So no matter where you're at in the country, be sure to stop by Qahwa House and get a glimpse of what the Yemeni culture is all about. Also, don't forget to download the new Qahwa House app. You can now order your coffee and go, skipping the line entirely. It's like having your own personal barista. So, we had a couple people saying, great cook, learned a lot from her. Then salam everyone from Khalid. We appreciate him as well. And then, Munira, again, subhanAllah, that's so beautiful. May Allah continue to bless you and put more barakah in your time, the work, and life. And then she was laughing at the taste testing with, what we were talking about earlier. And then gave a shout out to it being a great live as well. For those that are watching on Instagram, I was wondering, whoa, are these guys back on Instagram? Yeah, we wanted to go live today on Instagram. I did want to connect with Yumna, but, we didn't make that happen. But it is what it is. We're live on YouTube. We're live on Instagram. We're virtual. So I figured, this is a good time for me to try some new things out just in case in a future reference if we wanted to do this. Thank you to Yumna for coming on the show today. But the biggest thing is there's a book dropping tomorrow, right? Little do we, I mean, for those that don't know, Yumna's coming out. Is this your first book?
I was muted. It is. It's my first book. I'm super excited.
Super excited. So, first of all, book is coming out tomorrow. I would love to hear about that. So, what's this book all about, and when can people officially purchase it? Just everything. Just tell us everything about this book, Yumna.
Okay, wonderful. So this book, I think I wrote this book for two reasons. First, I wrote this book because growing up, my mom didn't really measure anything. My mom, we were talking about, the way she measured things was just with her heart. And I later on learned that a pinch of something was actually probably more like a tablespoon. And knowing all of this, I wanted to provide a resource for my family, my kids, my sisters, for me as well, to have this hard copy legacy resource, if you will, that will just kind of live with me forever, and just a resource of the recipes I learned from her and the recipes that I've learned in my journey as well. And so that was first reason for doing it. And the second reason for doing it is after being on Instagram for almost 11 years, my audience has been asking me for so long for something tangible. And so this book is all thanks to my audience, my followers, that I'm so humbled, so appreciative of the fact that there's 4 million of them on Instagram. It's so amazing to see that. And so over the years, one of the number one questions I've gotten is, do you have a cookbook? And so I finally got started on the cookbook about 2.5 years ago. And I never realized when they say it's like birthing another child. So this is my third child. I have a 13-year-old, an 11-year-old, and a soon-to-be newborn. I literally started working on it 2.5 years ago. And it is such a labor of love, because I basically created 125 recipes. 25 of them are a replica from the website. And so there's things in there like my mama's beef shawarma recipe, my hummus recipe, my baked feta pasta that went viral 3 years ago. Those recipes are just so iconic to my brand, and I had to include them in the book. But aside from those 25, I created 100 brand new recipes, in addition to continuing to publish on my website 4 times per week. I mean, we've cooked so much in the last couple of years. And so I don't think a lot of people realize how long the process takes. So I was basically given about 14 months to create those recipes. And so every single month I was testing 10 new ones, retesting them, making sure that they were perfect. And then once all of that was done, starting to write the manuscript and telling the stories about these recipes, and just putting it all together, and then designing it, photographing it, all of that. And so after all that time, I mean, literally I started on the proposal in September of 2021. And so May 2024, the book is finally coming out. And what I love about this book is that it is going to be a great resource for anybody who just wants easy home cooked meals. And so all the recipes except for falafel are 30 minutes or less of active time. So something might be in the oven for an hour, but you're literally only spending 15 to 20 minutes, 30 minutes on some recipes for all the recipes in there, except for falafel, like I said. And then
that sounds great.
Yeah.
That sounds phenomenal.
Everything is 10 ingredients or less. The shawarma recipe has 9 spices or 8 spices or something, but living in Dearborn, or I visit Dearborn often enough, we just buy the shawarma spice. So you can also make it as well. And so everything 30 minutes or less, 10 ingredients or less, and all of them are going to have a Mediterranean little kick to them. So it's cooking things like pasta and chicken and oatmeal and French toast and banana bread, but every single recipe will have something unique about it that's going to make people be like, oh, what is that in there? So in my banana bread, for example, I have tahini. In my pancakes, I have rose water. In my roasted chicken, I have sumac on top of it. So every single recipe is going to have this little hint of Mediterranean love that's going to make it elevated and special and unique. And one thing I'm learning now is that's what people want for dinner. They want it to be quick, fast, and easy, but they also want it to feel special. They don't want to just make spaghetti. They want spaghetti with a twist. So that's what the book is all about. And when you flip through the pages of the book, you'll notice that it's so colorful and really speaks to this feel-good brand that I've built over the years. So there's lots of, tomatoes and cucumbers and herbs and just really colorful dishes and stuffed peppers and eggplant, and everything just feels has this feel good nature to it because it's so colorful. And it's the food that makes our bodies feel good. So I stand by that. And I think that this is going to be the kind of book that's not trendy and not gimmicky, but just a staple in people's kitchen. So I hope that's what it is for many people.
I love the fact that you are so proud of your work. when you talk about it. It's so beautiful, and I
Thank you
hope
so much.
nothing but success.
Thank you so much. It literally is my baby.
If you
No, it
listen,
sounds like a beautiful labor of love. And 125 recipes, you're setting us up for like forever, like
Yeah.
literally. Because
Yeah.
how
And
often
that's,
do you you know, we make things like constantly that are the
oh,
same. Like,
yeah.
well,
Exactly. And that's what I like about it too. Like the book is going to teach you how to make pancakes, but then in my pancake recipe, I throw in there strawberries and rose water. But if you don't want those things tomorrow, you can throw in bananas and vanilla extract. And it's
mm,
going to teach you how to roast the whole chicken in the oven. And if you don't want to put potatoes in there, you can put carrots next time. And so it'll teach you these like really good basic recipes, but all of them will have like, hey, why don't you throw in, like you're making tomato soup, but why don't you throw in lebna into it to make it more creamy? If you don't have lebna, you can use sour cream. And so it really teaches you the basics, but they're so special still with these little ingredients.
sounds like a great like housewarming / wedding gift for sure.
Yeah. And Mother's Day,
Especially
which is
on
Sunday,
Mother's
which is
Day.
great for the mamas.
Smart. Very, very smart timing. I love it.
Yeah. Thanks.
no, that's awesome. That's awesome. And if you guys listen to her, it's all within a brand. You know, like I'm listening to your answers, and it's feel good food. You can make it quick, and you, like you said, it's bright colors, which is again makes people feel good, right? So all that, you know, the way you're doing it, you know, I love the professionalism and the business aspect of it too, like how you're attacking it and from a business mindset too. So kudos to you. You know,
Thank you so much.
we have people asking, by the way, where can they purchase it and when
I'm
can
saying,
they
where did it
purchase?
launch?
Yeah.
Oh, it's everywhere books are sold. And so Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Target, Walmart, Hudson's, like all of them will have it. And locally as well, it's at Kitab. Kitab will have it. Yeah. And then 27th Letter will have it as well. And then we're trying to get it at the museum as well. And so we're trying to get it. And then Barnes and Noble will have it as well in Ellen Park. And so you should be able to walk into any major bookseller and see the book there, which is so amazing and so humbling as well. Like I cannot wait to like walk into Target and be like, "It's my book," you know.
It's so
So
beautiful.
yeah, it's going to be great. Super excited about that.
You're
And what's
speaking.
cool too is that people in Lebanon, for example, and people abroad can still get the book as well. There's my cousin in Lebanon actually went to the major bookseller there and was like, "We need this pre-ordered," and so you can actually go into any store and tell them, "We want you to pre-order this book," and any bookseller can have access to get it for you.
I love it.
And
Yeah.
you are speaking at Kitab tomorrow, correct?
On Wednesday,
On
actually,
Wednesday.
yes.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm
And
sorry.
so we'll do a nice Q&A at Kitab at 6 p.m. And we're just going to do a Q&A there if anybody wants to join. I'm also buying a rose latte for anybody who buys the book. If you already have the book, I'll let it slide too. If you bought it from Amazon or somewhere else, just bring it with you. We're getting rose lattes for anybody over there as well. And then we're also going to have Amanda Saab is going to bake some treats from the book and bring them over there as well. So it's going to be a good time.
Which location?
It's the location Midtown.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's bigger. It's bigger than
Yeah.
You said Wednesday at 6?
Wednesday at 6, yeah. And then Thursday at 6 as well, I'll be at Williams Sonoma signing cookbooks at the Somerset collection over there.
That's awesome. That's
so that'll
awesome.
be fun. Yeah.
Going on a book tour.
Little book tour. Yeah.
There you go. So, I mean, I know you kind of did that, you know, and then you did a great job of kind of explaining the book, but we want that elevator, you know, they call it the elevator pitch, you know, where, you know, you have about a good 45 seconds, you know,
Oh, yeah.
maybe or whatever. So tell us why you believe people should purchase the new Feel Good Foodie cookbook, you know, authored by Yumna.
Awesome. Okay, well, if you are in a dinner rut or you're not sure how to cook, what to cook for the week, I think this book is really going to help you just get organized, meal plan, and get dinner on the table that everyone is going to love. So the way the recipes work is there's tons of main dishes. So I break it up into vegetarian mains, seafood mains, and then chicken and beef as well. And then the salads can all be entrees. The soups also are all huge and entrees, like entree-like. And what happens is, the good thing about this book is that you can actually pair any of the sides with any of the mains and put them together. And it makes it so much easier for you to meal prep and get dinner on the table. Everything is 30 minutes or less, 10 ingredients or less, and it's going to make you feel so good.
So good.
So good.
Love it.
Yeah, give that a round of applause. And it's over, well, you said 125 recipes as well.
Yes, exactly. And so I think the main tagline is 125 everyday recipes elevated with Mediterranean ingredients. That's really what it comes down to. And I'm so proud of our Mediterranean ingredients and proudly showcasing them in this book, from lebneh to dates to sumac to seven spice to rose water, pomegranate molasses. It was hard to pick 8, honestly, and I had to pick the 8 heroes in my book. And throughout the book, you'll just see them sprinkled throughout. And what's good about those 8 ingredients is they're all shelf stable except for lebneh, but lebneh literally lasts, like, it could last like months in your fridge. Nothing really like, and it's so easy to make it as well if you wanted to from just yogurt. So I tell people, don't be shy, buy that rose water, buy the pomegranate molasses. You're going to find so many uses for it, because not only do I show you 5 to 10 recipes in the book for each of these staples, but I also give you other hints too. Like, if you have more of this, use it here, use it there, use it instead of this and instead of that.
When you said you add tahini in your banana bread, I'm like, whoa, I gotta try that.
Yeah, and you just swap a little butter for tahini, and it's so good. And when my mom used to make, I don't know if you guys grew up eating sfouf. It's the yellow cake, and it's a really good it's like a turmeric cake basically. But my mom would line the baking sheet with tahini instead of greasing it with butter. You grease it with tahini basically, because it's the fat and it's nutty and all of that. And so you line the baking sheet with that, and it just gives it this like earthy, nutty, rich flavor.
Beautiful.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing this. And, before we talk about how Yumna, if you don't believe her, go ahead and read her and Google her, because she's been on major news outlets, for work that she does. I want to, give a quick shout out to our next sponsor, which is a place that would be Yumna approved, which is the Balkan House restaurant. I don't know if you've ever been there before, but if not, you need to try them out. The Balkan House is famous for their doner kebab sandwiches. But did you know that the Balkan House now serves breakfast? Did you also know that all their food is 100% halal? The Balkan House now also have 2 food trucks, so you can book your next party or event with the Balkan House on wheels. If you're looking for a nice place to eat with friendly service and great prices, look no further than the Balkan House restaurant. They have an Hamtramck location as well as a Ferndale location. So shout out to the Balkan House. Shout out to Juma, Hassan, and everybody over there at the Balkan House. Somebody asked, what time will you be there? We got to reiterate it again on Wednesday. It was at 6 o'clock?
6 o'clock, yep.
So 6 o'clock, book signing. I'm sure you're going to talk about the book as well. We got Amanda Sapp, by the way, who we need to get on the podcast. We've been communicating. And it was a time period where she was a little busy, but she said, please reach back out to me. So she'll be a future friend of the podcast.
She's amazing.
Yeah, for sure. So looking forward to that this Wednesday at 6 o'clock, if you guys want to check that out. But with that said, moving on, major media outlets have written about Yumna and her food, different places. Most importantly now, Oz Media, of course. But before that, there were some big ones. So tell us a little bit about that. Can you throw out some names? I don't want to say 1 or 2 names, but can you give out some names that featured you? I seen that people pick up your stuff from TikTok. They pick it up from Instagram. They pick it up from everywhere. So, tell us who wrote about it and, what are some of the things that they said?
Cool. Well, I think one of the biggest ones that I was really surprised about was Vogue magazine. I was like, hey, I never thought I would be in Vogue magazine, but it was when the baked feta pasta trend was happening. It's not a recipe that I came up with, but it's just a recipe that I thought was so intriguing. I shared about it and I was like, this really goes with the kind of food I love to cook. It's feta cheese, and there's so much, it's such a big Mediterranean, staple in my fridge. And so I shared that recipe. It went viral and I was featured in Vogue magazine, which was really cool. And also by the New York Times as well, which I was like, hold up, this is really cool. And so there's a lot of these features which have been really just humbling and amazing. And also more recently, People magazine had my overnight oats in there, which was really kind of cool. Just like literally go to the grocery store and pick up People magazine and open it up and see my face in there was just really amazing. The Food Network had me featured a couple times, which was always great. And yeah, it's been fun. And I've learned over time that people are just looking for just interesting stories to tell, and I'm always just here to share my story, share my background, and share interesting recipes. And when you do all of that, it just tells a great story and people just pick it up, So I'm so humbled by all the features, and it's just been amazing to see that. And I'm
I love
hoping
that.
for more positivity and more, news to spread from this cookbook, inshallah.
Inshallah.
You
I
know,
Yeah.
absolutely
we
love
feel
it.
honored having you here. I'm gonna be
That's
honest with you. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, thank you
you
so much. I
know,
set up a Google alert for my name and for my, which is really fun too, because sometimes I don't know what happens. So I set up a Google alert for my name and for Feel Good Foodie. And so it's really cool. And, every couple of days, like something gets picked up, especially now with the cookbook too. There's just been a lot of fun buzz out there, which has been great. It's been really cool to see it and to see like the cookbook right now is in roundups. Like the Food Network had it as top Mother's Day gifts, top Mother's Day cookbooks to give. And it was like one of 8 books, which I was like, oh my gosh, this is great. Like I'm in there with some big names and it's so humbling to see that.
It's so funny that you say that. We had a commenter that said that she's gonna have her kids get it for her birthday because it's this month as well.
Oh,
So you can put that in the birthday category as well.
yeah.
But they did ask as well. So the Somerset, maybe that's the time that they were talking about. So
Oh, the
what day
Somerset.
and time for Somerset?
Somerset will be Thursday at 6 p.m.
And you'll be obviously selling your books that day as well.
Yeah, exactly. And you can buy them at Williams Sonoma. They have a big stash over there, so you can get them there. And the ticket for that includes the book. And so the ticket is $32.50, and it's just literally the price of the book. So you get there and you have the book with you. They basically give it to you right when you enter the line, and then you can kind of go through that. The Kitab event is free, but you can just come on by and do that. I also have one in Grand Rapids tomorrow when the book launches, but I think most of the audience will be more in the Detroit, Dearborn area.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So, we heard a lot about you. It seems like it's all business. So can we talk about Yumna, the person, the human being? So what are some things that people may not know about you that you enjoy doing?
Let's see. I have 2 kids, 13 and 11, and I'm really good at Scrabble. Like, so we do a lot of Scrabble on evenings, and we try to do that, as much as possible, like every other weekend or something like that. And so I'm really good at that. I was also, I was also very athletic. Supposedly in high school, I was like sports athlete of the year, which was kind of surprising, but it was kind of funny because I wasn't very athletic, but you needed a 3.0 average GPA in order to qualify for biggest athlete in high school. So that was kind of funny. But now I love to just work out 4 to 5 days, like even 6 days a week, honestly. So just being active is a huge part of my lifestyle. And so ever since I was in high school, I just had that mentality of like just being in all the sports. And so that's what I try to do now. I try to play tennis with my kids, go to the gym 5-6 days a week, go for walks and hikes and things like that, and just stay as active as possible because there's no way I can eat everything I make if I'm like not working out. And so I got to burn them calories for all the good stuff that I'm making.
I
It's
have a
all
question.
balance.
What's your favorite food? Like, and what do you like? What do you like to cook the most? And what's your favorite food?
My favorite food is wara ana, bora arish, grape
Yeah,
leaves.
they're great.
The
Yeah.
best food in the world. And I think my entire family, husband, both kids, that's her favorite. Literally, my daughter was like, not begged me, actually. I misheard her telling her cousin. It was funny because she was like, and her cousin was asking her, what are you having for your birthday dinner tomorrow? She goes, oh, my mom's making like steak and mashed potatoes. And she's like, well, is that your favorite food? She goes, no, my favorite food is wara ana, but it's too complicated. I don't want to ask my mom to make it. She's really busy. This was like 2 months ago. And I overheard her on the phone. And I'm like, that's it. I'm making her grape leaves. And I hate making grape leaves because it just takes forever. But I usually need a good show, like an hour and a half, 40, like 2 hour show, and I can get through it. And so it's my favorite thing to make. And I mean, when I'm done making it though, like, my family knows how much love went into that meal because it only happens like 4 times a year probably. So you won't find that in the book because it's just, I tried to keep it all like 30-minute meals. One day I'll have a more like a robust Lebanese recipes and Middle Eastern recipe book where that will be in there, but inshallah. But for now, it's not in there. So that's my favorite thing to eat. My favorite thing to make is literally just like pasta and pesto. Like it's one of my favorite things to eat. And I love that you can make pesto with so many different things, like pine nuts and cashew, like any kind of nut, any kind of greens. You can use kale, you can use basil. I will make pesto out of anything green that I have, any kind of nut. I'll just, most important ingredients I would say is some kind of a nut, garlic and lemon juice, and some kind of a green, like those 4 things. But you can literally make pesto out of anything. And I'll just toss it with any pasta I have, and we're all happy campers. Like it's so fast to make. And in the book, I actually have a version of that. It's I use rigatoni because it's my favorite pasta. It's just so pretty and like tubular. It's like my favorite pasta to eat. And the pesto in that one is made with pistachios, which makes it extra.
I've never had a pesto with
I'm getting
pistachios.
hungry.
Yeah,
me
seriously,
neither.
I
hungry
that's
yet.
why I work out and I stay active because I'm just like constantly talking about food and yeah, but that's really special. And that literally, I mean, if you put things in, you have to put it in a food processor, blend it up, and you can have it cold or warm. And then you can also freeze it too. So I always have pesto in my freezer and I'm always just making pesto. I love it.
Hey, Sada, can you do me a favor? Do that face you made when she said "Waraq anab," by the way, please and thank you.
Oh, I didn't notice it. What'd you do?
I love waraq anab, but I refuse to. I'm not doing it. Take out the camera from my face. I feel like they only see me. But I refuse to learn how to make it because I know it's gonna break my back. That's why I refuse to make sambusa too.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
I do not fold sambusa.
Oh.
I cut it out.
She did
But I
something
love
like
it.
something like
No.
that. You know what I mean? Like she
I
did
was like
yeah,
a
yeah,
happy
a
dancing.
wiggle, like a happy dance. It was a happy dance. Yeah.
My Lebanese coworkers always hook it up though. They're
Okay,
always
that's
whenever
good.
their mom makes, they're like, all right,
Oh,
Sada wants
yeah.
some too, and they always bring to work. So
Yeah. You're
I'm
hooked
blessed.
up. That's good. There's so many amazing places in Dearborn, honestly. It's like I wouldn't do half the foods here. Like menaish, I make menaish from scratch, but if I lived in Dearborn, I'd never do that. I just, go pick it
If
up.
you would recommend a place that makes good waraq anab, what would it be in Dearborn? Because like I'll go get after this podcast.
I think it would be Habib's actually. I think they do a really good job. And they have like two kinds. They have Iraqi style and Lebanese style. And I just feel like theirs is like spot on. Like I feel like and the Iraqi style one is really good too, which I didn't grow up with that flavor, but it's actually really good.
What's the difference?
I think they have pomegranate molasses in it.
Mm.
So it's a little bit
Oh.
just like more tart flavor, and we don't put it in the Lebanese version. And so it's really good. Especially I like the vegetarian one more than the meat one. But they do a really good job at Habib's for that. Yeah.
Costco got some too. Yeah.
Really?
They're actually not bad. The only thing I don't like about it is that the rice is a little mushy.
Oh,
But
Too mushy, and they're really big.
oh.
but like
I
you know,
don't.
like
I like them small. I like the
yeah,
ratio's gotta be
But
right.
it's not bad. It's not bad.
They're more
If
like
you can't
Greek.
have
I
it.
feel like they're a little bit more Greek inspired in a way.
Yeah.
So
Anwar commented, Anwar for sure can't cook, focus as much as possible. Listen, do you not see how focused I am right now, Anwar? Have you not been paying attention how focused I am? Good thing is, YouTube will have this video later as well, so we could always rewatch it and take notes again.
Absolutely.
But next question was, will you make a book for iftar and suhoor recipes?
Ooh.
Will I make a book one day? Inshallah, I would love to do that one day. Honestly, I think that would be so amazing to have a book out there. So I'm hoping that's why there's so much that rides on this first book, and depending how this first book does and what the sales look like, it can really just set the pace, set the future for so many other cookbooks. And I want to do so many iterations of them. Like I said, I want to have like Lebanese dinner cookbook first, and it would be like all the things Lebanese, like quick and easy. Let's stuff things, like like let's have meza, let's have like all the dough stuff. Like it would just be so many different things. And then I would love to do something with like suhoor and iftar type of recipes. I actually have my website has, if you look up Ramadan recipes, my website ranks like top like 3 or 2, or sometimes like Delish and the Food Network beat me on those things, but I'm up there, and you would find a ton of suhoor and iftar recipes as well. So every Ramadan, alhamdulillah, like it gets so much traffic, so many people are visiting all those recipes, and it's super helpful and resourceful. And I try to also create menus around them as well. And we do a meal plan every single week on the website. This is why I have a person that does this as well. Like she'll pick, here's the meal plan for the week, and I'm like, I don't like this, and we'll tweak it. But during Ramadan, we did a meal plan. Every week had a different meal plan, and it was all Ramadan type of recipes, which was great. People loved it so much.
when it comes to like traditional books, I feel like it hits home for some of the people that didn't grow up with their mom, or didn't, some of their families back home, and they didn't have that, person teaching them. So it's like I don't know, it just hits home, I think, in a different way for those people.
Absolutely.
For sure. Well, listen, we're winding down to pretty much the last question, which is the Motivate Me 313 minutes. Which is the best advice you've ever received, and why did it mean so much to you? because you are a person that is very influential in my eyes, and that strove to reach her goals, mashallah, and Allahumma barak. And you are a living dream of somebody, a living example of someone who pursued her dreams. So
Yeah.
with that said, let's hear the best advice that you've ever gotten, and why did it mean so much to you?
I love this question, and thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I think a lot of people don't realize how much goes into, you see somebody on social media today, and you don't realize everything that went into it and the years and years of work that went into it. So my best advice would be, think of whatever goal you have and whatever project you're trying to work on. I would use this 1% infinity idea. And this 1% infinity means I want you to get better every day by 1%. Forever. And this is like that mentality just really got me through a lot of like busy days. And my kids were really young. Like my son was literally 6 months old when I started Instagram. And this just got me. So every single day I basically think of like, okay, what's 1% how can I be better than yesterday by 1%? What is one thing I can do today that I didn't do yesterday that I can improve on? And so every day, even with the cookbook right now, that's my biggest project. And every day I think, what is one thing I can do today that I didn't do yesterday? And it just really pushes me and challenges me and just allows me to just get like a little bit better every day. And instead of focusing on these huge chunks of goals, focus on like something as small as just like fixing something on your website, or just sharing a story, or just making a recipe that means something to you, or whatever that feels like. So this idea of 1% infinity lives with me every day.
I love that. I love that. We're gonna give you an actual round of applause. If we were in the studio, we already have those already ready to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll give you that. But we'll do it live right now in person as well. But Yumna, I appreciate you so much. I love the energy, like Sada was saying. Like you can hear the passion coming out of your voice. I wish we were able to do this in person. It would have been really cool to actually meet you in person as well, because people feed off that energy typically when you're in the same room as well. But either way, thank you. First of all, this is the final word time. So before any final words, and please let people know one more time how people can obviously buy the book. I just want to say, for those that are watching, we went live on YouTube. We went live on Instagram. This video will be later available on YouTube as well. I'm gonna probably be deleting it off Instagram. So if you want to rewatch it, or you came in a little bit late, it will be available on Instagram. Obviously, YouTube. You can follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. You'll be able to listen to the show later on Apple and Spotify podcasts as well. Shout out to the sponsors: The Balkan House, Juice Box, Kahwa House, BC Adhesives, Specialty Medical Center, and Hanley International Academy. We're here with Yumna. She is coming out with her first ever book, Feel Good Foodie Cookbook, which will be dropping tomorrow. So look out for it. She'll be telling you how you can purchase it. So Yumna, tell us any final words, and also let people know again one more time how they can purchase the book.
Absolutely. I have this book right here, so I want to share it with you guys. This is the Feel Good Foodie Cookbook. Comes out tomorrow, May 7th. Super excited. I just love the cover. I'm obsessed with it. It's chicken shawarma and all the fixins with the toom and the tabbouleh and all of that. So the book is available everywhere books are sold. So you can find it online today, and you can also find it, anywhere that you normally shop for books. And so, any pre-orders mean so much to me, because it really helps the success of this book. But it also just, it shows the world that like there's a place for us Middle Eastern women to create something that is beautiful, that is creative, that is resourceful, and that really makes a difference in people's lives. And I feel like with all the energy and time and creativity that I put into this book, I feel like it deserves all the love in the world. And so I hope that it gets all the love, and I hope it also gives people joy in their kitchen as well. So really appreciate being on this podcast, and so appreciate everyone's time watching too.
And this won't be the last time. We want to come on again.
Yes.
Inshallah, we'll be able to do it in person. We just know that the schedule right now. You're very busy, and I know you're coming out with the book. So when things start to slow down, inshallah. Sada, any final words, final comments?
She's very busy, but she still made time. And honestly, it was an honor to have you on here. You are a ray of sunshine, and may Allah keep you happy and fulfilled with success.
That means so much to me. Thank you so much.
And
my mouth hurts from smiling because you guys are so sweet.
Oh, you're so
oh, okay,
No,
because
you're
I was
so
gonna say,
sweet.
our jokes are usually funnier in person. By the way, I want to let you know. But I guess if you're smiling, then we're good to go.
Yeah,
I mean, any
exactly.
final words, final
No,
comments?
may Allah put pour barakah onto your any endeavor that you put your mind to, and inshallah, you might see me on Wednesday. I might have to come get a book in
Yeah, I'm
person
gonna try
and meet
to.
you because you're so sweet, and
I would love that.
inshallah, more success to come, and yeah, you've helped me, so thank you. I really, really do appreciate you putting in the time and
Thank
the
you so
effort.
much. Thank you. I appreciate you both. Appreciate you, all three of you.
Yeah, and so just let's end this on another laugh, right? Yusuf, my brother, puts Omar cannot cook. He thinks adding cheese to scrambled eggs is gourmet with parsley for decoration. And again, I'm only reading this because it's also true. It is also true. All right. I just want to let y'all know that's definitely if I get parsley on top of eggs with some with some scrambled eggs and cheese. Watch out! I might be coming after you. Yumna, be careful. Okay?
That's next level. You're garnishing right there. That's like,
Yes.
yeah.
All jokes aside, this was season 3, episode 30 of Motivate Me 3 on 3's podcast. We are here with Yumna, Feel Good Foodie. Instagram. She does it big. You said you got TikTok as well. People can follow you on TikTok, YouTube. Where else?
Facebook, Pinterest, all the things.
There you go. All
And the
social media
website.
platforms.
The website is
Same name, by the way, for
yeah,
everything.
everything is Feel Good Foodie. And I'm also on Twitter, which I don't know if anyone's on Twitter, but we're hanging out over there, just in case anyone is over there.
Yeah.
Just in case there's a mom looking for some recipes on Twitter. And then the website has all the recipes on there. We publish 4 new recipes every single week, and we try to just keep things really fresh and bright and fun and easygoing as much as possible. So yeah. And
There you
looking
go.
forward to seeing everybody in Dearborn too. Whether you come out to Troy or come out to Kitab, I would love to see whoever can make it. And we need to do a bookstore in Dearborn. I mean, Barnes and Noble would have been a good option, but it was Allen Park, and so I needed to do something in Dearborn. It needs to be a bookstore, and so inshallah, next book we'll do something in Dearborn because I know a lot of the community is there, and it's hard to leave on a weekday to go out. So I appreciate whoever can make it out to these events. It's an honor to meet everybody.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Yumna. We appreciate you all. Thank you for those that watched on Instagram. Again, this was like a test trial run to see how that works out with both platforms. So, we'll definitely look back and, like Yumna said, do that research, and then, move forward and see what we can take, what steps we can take forward. Sada, Abir, thank you for joining. Yumna, of course, thank you for coming on. We hope that you enjoy this episode and have a great rest of your day. Be safe and make sure you purchase that book that's dropping tomorrow. Feel Good Foodie. You won't regret it. I promise you that. And have a great rest of your day and take it easy.